It was one of those Tuesday mornings that felt like the world was holding its breath. The sun spilled through the lattice of Ellen Harper's porch, catching the dew, still clinging to the roses she'd planted last spring. The neighborhood was quiet, the kind of quiet where you could hear a distant lawnmower hum and the birds chirping like they'd just remembered how to sing after a long winter. Ellen, my mom, stood at the edge of her porch in a faded blue robe, a single gardening glove on her right hand, watering her flowers like it was her sacred mission. To her, she never skipped a day unless a storm was brewing or her socket ached too much. Even then, she'd find a way. Her prosthetic leg, a bold piece of art painted with the American flag, clicked softly as she shifted her weight. That leg wasn't just a tool, it was her banner, her defiance. 7 years ago, a drunk driver going 90 in a school zone took her leg in a hit-and-run. The doctors said she'd never walk again. Mom didn't just walk. She strutted, stars and stripes gleaming every damn day. She was humming Patsy Cline's Walkin' After Midnight from a Bluetooth speaker propped on the windowsill, the air thick with wet soil and rose petals. Then came the knock. Not a neighbor's tap, but a sharp, aggressive thud, 3 quick pounds, then a pause that screamed trouble. She turned down the music and peeked through the glass. 2 men stood there like they owned the street, navy polos stretched over soft bellies, HOA code enforcement patches crookedly sewn on like a kid's craft project. Their khakis were too clean, their clipboards too empty. One leaned on the porch post like he was auditioning for a cop show. The other tapped his pen, itching for a fight. Mom opened the door slow. "Morning," she said, voice steady but low. "Can I help you?" The taller one didn't bother with pleasantries. "You're in violation," he barked, cold and certain. Mom blinked. "Excuse me." The shorter one, clutching his clipboard like a shield, squinted at her prosthetic like it was a bomb. "That," he said, jabbing his pen at it, "is not an approved accessory under HOA Mobility Compliance Code." Silence hung heavy. "My prosthetic leg," Mom repeated, eyes narrowing. "Yes, ma'am," he said, all fake politeness. "It needs to be removed or replaced within 24 hours. It's non-compliant." Mom stared like he'd just banned GRAVY tie. "What makes it non-compliant?" The short one shrugged, pointing at the flag design. "It's unauthorized. Flag imagery is political under Section 9, Paragraph D of the HOA Exterior Presentation Clause. No political displays on private property without board approval, including functional medical extensions." Mom blinked once, then twice. "You mean the American flag?" The tall one cut in. "It could be seen as provocative." "By whom?" she asked, voice sharp now. He smirked, but it didn't reach his eyes. "That's not for you to decide, ma'am. This community has standards." She leaned against the doorframe, steady on her good leg. "No badges," she muttered, almost to herself. "No name tags, no real citations, just a cheap patch and a blank clipboard." "We don't need badges to enforce decorum," the tall one snapped. "You've got 24 hours. A fair warning from 2 strangers who didn't live here, who'd never shown up at an HOA meeting, who drove an unmarked gray van with a muddy rear plate." Mom's doorbell camera was rolling, catching every second. Her face shifted surprise, then suspicion, then steel. The kind of steel only veterans, cops, or moms with nothing left to lose can muster. "I've lived here 42 years, she said, calm but unyielding. "I served on the Real HOA board when it meant something. I've buried neighbors, planted trees, raised kids, and lost a leg to a drunk who thought a school zone was a racetrack. This flag? It's staying." The short one didn't flinch. 24 hours. Next VY sit, we escalate. "Is that a threat?" "It's protocol." She held his gaze for 5 long seconds, then closed the door, slow and deliberate, like slamming it would have been too kind. Through the glass, she saw them smirk, scribble on their fake clipboard, and saunter off her porch like they owned it. She stood there, watching their van roll away, no front plate, no HOA logo. Later, when I got her text, "You want to see this footage?" She was at the kitchen table, prosthetic off, cleaning it with a rag and rubbing alcohol. The TV was off, the lights low, but her eyes burned. I watched the footage, rewound it, watched again. "They picked the wrong house," I muttered. She nodded, slow and sure. "They always do." She called me the second their tires left her driveway, her voice tight, controlled. They handed me a citation. Looks like it was printed at a gas station. Her photo buzzed through a grainy slip, red letters screaming Community Compliance Initiative. No seal, no letterhead, just a local forwarding number. I left work mid-meeting, didn't even lock my laptop. By the time I pulled into her driveway, the sun was sinking behind the hedges, casting the porch in shadow. Mom sat in her rocker, nursing black coffee like it was whiskey, and handed me the paper. It crackled like a dry leaf, the logo a clip art mess of 3 houses and a gavel. Citation for non-compliant mobility apparatus. It read, full of gibberish like aesthetic inconsistency and unvetted patriotic symbolism. The contact address? Unit 7, East Lot Storage, Box C. No city, no zip, just a Dropbox for ghosts. The van, I asked. No front plate, she said. Back one was caked in mud. And the clipboard? Chick-fil-A sticker, half peeled, like they got hungry mid-scam. My heart pounded. They're not real HOA, I said. She smiled thinly. I know, but they want to be. Inside, her prosthetic supplies were laid out like a surgeon's tray: alcohol, cloth, screwdriver, toothbrush. She removed the leg with a practiced hiss, cleaning it with care. That leg was more than metal. It was her. I remembered the hospital, the rehab, the nights she cried when she thought I was asleep. I remembered her painting it, stripe by stripe, Sinatra crooning in the garage. She didn't choose the flag for politics, she chose it for her. That night, she didn't sleep. She polished the leg like a soldier prepping a rifle, every bolt checked, every star gleaming. She stepped onto the porch in the moonlight, moving her flower pots half an inch at a time, adjusting the rocker for a clear VYEW. She wasn't a retired teacher with arthritis. She was a general plotting a war. What are you doing? I asked from the doorway. Staging, she said. If they want my leg, I'm making room to swing. I didn't laugh. I knew she meant it. They came back at 9:02 a.m., not 9 o'clock, not 9:05, like they'd been lurking around the corner, plotting their big VY lane entrance. The van crunched gravel. The birds went quiet. Even the neighbor's lazy retriever shut up. Mom was ready, standing on the porch in a pressed green blouse, and jeans rolled above her socket. Her prosthetic shone, red, white, and blue VY brand under the sun. Silver hair tied back. She held a thermos of black coffee, bitter as her mood. The men stepped out. Same tight polos, same crooked patches. The tall one chewed gum like he was mad at it. The short one dragged a measuring stick like he was marking a crime scene. They didn't knock, didn't speak, just stepped onto her porch like they owned it. The short one waved a laminated citation, all cocky now. They started measuring from the steps to the roses, muttering about VY Sewell clutter thresholds. Mom took one step forward, her prosthetic clicking. The tall one looked up, annoyed. We gave you 24 hours, he snapped, voice cracking just enough for her notice. And I gave you none, she said, cool as ice. You're in repeat violation, the short one barked, gripping his pen. He pulled out his phone, pointed it at her face. Say cheese, ma'am. You'll be in our next HOA bulletin. That's when her breath stopped, just for a second. Then it happened the moment that had burned across the internet. Her left hand moved, slow, delicate, like she was fixing her scarf. But it wasn't a scarf. Click. The quick-release latch on her leg echoed like a grenade pin. The men froze. She slid the prosthetic off, smooth as silk, and held it like a bat, two-handed balanced. The tall one stepped back. Ma'am, this is an official warning. Then she swung. 7 years of pain surgeries, lowball settlements, supermarket stairs packed into one pivot. The carbon fiber hit the short one's hip with a crack, not bone, but plastic and khaki folding at 30 miles an hour. He dropped, gasping. Before the tall one could blink, she twisted, leg raised overhead, and slammed the heel into his thigh. He staggered, crashed into the roses, soil exploding like a funeral for their scam. Mom stood, one-legged, chesty VYing, balanced like a queen. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. The men crawled, stunned, scrambling like roaches. The short one's phone buzzed out, camera app still recording by accident. The doorbell cam caught it all, wide angle, crystal clear. "You okay?" I yelled, sprinting from the driveway. "Don't touch them," she said, quiet but firm. "Let them crawl." And they did, limping to their van, one half dragged inside. "You're insane," the short one gasped. "No," she said. "I'm a homeowner." I watched the footage 5 times, her swing deliberate, cold-blooded. She'd planned it. I uploaded it to a secure folder, emailed it to her lawyer. We knew what was coming: cops, maybe lawsuits. But the power had shifted back to the woman who'd earned it, every second on tape. 15 minutes later, red and blue lights flickered down the street. 2 cruisers, sirens off, like they knew this wasn't urgent. Officer Kendall stepped out, looking tired, not from calls but from a world too ridiculous to believe. "Ellen," he said, half smiling. "Kendall," she replied, prosthetic back on, steady as ever. I handed him a USB stick. "Footage is here. Front angle, time-stamped." He took it, muttering, "You're the 4th house this week." Inside, we played the VY Deo on the TV. Kendall's jaw unclenched as Mom raised her leg like a warrior. When it ended, he whistled. "File charges?" he asked. She sipped cold coffee. "No, I want them off my lawn." He laughed, sharp and quick. "You handled that." The men weren't HOA. They were brothers, Carl and Mitch Brody, unemployed locals with a rap sheet for fraud. They'd printed their patches in a storage unit, targeted old folks and veterans, demanding due law 50 waiver fees. 3 others had paid. Then they met Ellen Harper. By 11:07 a.m., the footage was online. I posted it on Facebook, and it spread Twitter, Reddit, TikTok, then local news. The headline? "Fake HOA cops felled by one-leg patriot grandma." A freeze frame of Mom mid-swing, face calm, went viral with 3.4 million VYUs. Comments poured in. She stood taller with one leg than they did with 2. Memes exploded: Mom as Captain America, her leg as Excalibur. By evening, the local paper wanted an inter VYEW. She said no. Fame wasn't her thing. It was about a line crossed, and her saying no more. At 8:30 p.m., Mr. Coleman, an old vet from down the street, brought muffins and a note. "You protected all our porches." She kept it, said little, and sat on her porch, coffee warm, leg gleaming, camera still rolling. By sunrise, news vans lined the curb, mics hovering like vultures. Mom was out there, rocking gently, lemonade in hand, red bandana in her hair. A young reporter approached, mic shaking. "A quote?" she asked. "You get one." She looked at the camera. "They tried to take my leg like it was a lawn ornament, so I treated them like weeds." The line hit the evening news, then CNN, Fox, MSNBC. TikToks remixed it over action themes. A veteran group, Liberty Limbs, gifted her a new prosthetic lightweight, flag painted, etched with "Don't tread on me, especially if you're fake." She tried on alone, then stepped out to cheers, not like fans, but like citizens who'd seen someone fight back. The Brody brothers were nabbed at a gas station, still in their stained polos. Cops found their fake citations, their heat press, a binder of Target's old folks, widows. They faced charges: impersonation, fraud, trespassing, extortion. The DA said justice came faster than the law, wearing a flag. But the real punishment was the memes. Mom's image leg raised, sunglasses low flooded the internet. Etsy sold mugs, shirts, patches. I am the code. A YouTuber recreated the fight with action figures, hitting 3 million VYUs. Mom turned down every offer but one. A veteran-run prosthetics company named a model after her, the Patriot, free for any vet. She agreed, no hesitation. 3 weeks later, spring bloomed in Carson VY Lee. Cherry blossoms scattered like confetti, the air warm and breezy. At the community park, under an old oak, white chairs lined up for a ceremony. Families gathered, kids chased bubbles, a quartet tuned up. Mom sat front row, denim jacket with an eagle patch, new leg crossed, straw hat shading her grin. Mayor Tom Willis, her friend since high school, took the mic. He'd once caught a volleyball to the nose from her in gym class, and they'd been tight ever since. "There are heroes who don't ask permission," he said. Ellen Harper swung a carbon fiber leg and showed us what dignity looks like. The crowd roared, whistled. A kid's juice box burst from clapping. He handed her a framed certificate for CIVYC bravery. She took it, smirked, and said, "Better than a parking ticket." Then they led her to a new bench by the Veterans Memorial, dark wood, iron supports, with a bronze plaquia sculpted prosthetic leg mid-swing, flag rippling, inscribed, "To all who stand, sit, or swing for justice, thank you." She sat, hands folded, sun casting amber shadows. The crowd hushed. The bench became a landmark. Vets saluted it, kids posed, teachers brought classes. A boy whispered, "Is she a superhero?" His mom said, "She's better. She's real." Petitions started to name the park after her. Across the state, people stopped fake enforcers, inspired by her swing. One night, I sat with her in the backyard, stars out, cicadas humming. "What were you thinking before you swung?" I asked. She tapped the chair. "I thought, you messed with the wrong porch." She paused, eyes steady. Then I said, "Non-compliant? You haven't seen non-compliant yet." She spat on the ground, really VYing it. We sat in silence, and I knew she wasn't just my mom. She was a storm, a one-legged hurricane, and the world finally saw.